So a quarterback who needs to add some weapons for next year and just added a big one here. Nebraska, Dylan Raiola, at Dane Key, former Kentucky wide receiver, the fifth leading receiver in Kentucky history, 126 catches, 1,870 receiving yards, and almost 15 yards a reception, almost 50 yards a game, 14 career touchdowns. A lot of Kentucky fans might tell you he was even underutilized. I know the quarterback situation wasn't great there this year. Brock Vandegrift struggled. And to me, this is a pickup for Nebraska, where obviously you're trying to maximize Dylan Raiola's career as much as possible, right? It wasn't an incredible season last year, but you can see the talents there. Continue to put some pieces around him. They're losing two of their top receivers. They're returning Ja'Cory Barney, a guy from South Florida, speedster. You can use a multitude of ways. We've watched him since high school, a guy that Miami wanted down here in South Florida. But in Dane Key, you're getting a legit NFL talent, someone that a lot of people thought was headed to the next level. And he had plenty of suitors. There was some talk that he was going to wind up at Georgia. So you have to think Nebraska really prioritized him here and said, look, you're going to be our main target next year with what we believe to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Yeah, reunited with his old Kentucky wide receiver coach, Daniil Shorts, and I think size and quarterback friendliness, let's say. You add an Isaiah Hunter from Cal last week, a very, very highly valued transfer with 3 years of eligibility coming from Cal. You add Dane Key. These are big physical targets that's going to make life easier for Dylan Raiola. Dane Key, just incredibly smooth, has a baseball background. You can see how he tracks the ball. A little more athletic than people think. Yes, he's a possession guy, a reliable guy, but he can separate against SEC corners. I think he'll have an easier time in the Big Ten, at least at that particular position, being able to separate. He's just an unbelievable, consistent player at the college football level with pro football aspirations. And like you mentioned, Pete, it's different types of bodies. So yeah, you bring in Hunter, you bring in Key. These are big guys. You're replacing your two top receivers, but you still had that dynamic element of Ja'Cory Barney, who we watched in high school. We think he's one of the most dynamic young receivers in the country, certainly in the Big Ten. A guy you can give it to on jet sweeps, who can catch short passes and make big plays. You're also adding Cortez Mills, another Miami guy from Homestead, who's going to bring you a big play dynamic. Another guy we watched a lot. So Key just kind of solidifies things, says, hey, listen, you got Hunter, who's a rising player with 1 year experience. You got these other young guys. I've been around in the SEC. I've got a ton of passes. I still have more in me. That's why he's going there. He probably thinks his quarterback situation is just going to be a little better at all conference level. But he's just a needed presence, I think, in that room, and someone Coach Shorts is certainly going to lean on, as knowing him from Kentucky and knowing the veteran presence and the stability he provides, to say, hey, young guys, if you want to see how to conduct yourself and how to be consistent against top competition, look at Dane Key. Just a very, very important addition for Nebraska. Obviously, he was in need. When you beat out Georgia, I have to imagine NIL was huge in terms of the commitment you're making to a Dane Key. But at the same time, it's not just a money deal. You have a quarterback in a clear direction that you could sell to a wide receiver.
Yeah, and you see this play right here, him leaping over the defender. I mean, he's a guy who can really do it all. Again, like I said, 15 yards of reception is nothing to turn your head at. I mean, that's extremely impressive. And you mentioned Daniil Shorts, the receivers coach in Nebraska, very highly thought of in the coaching community, was at Houston there with Tank Dell. A lot of people say he was a big part of the Tank Dell story and development process there. And I believe he was part of kind of finding him down in Florida. So they're expecting big things. Like we mentioned, Ja'Cory Barney too. I like that Cortez Mills addition as well. People in South Florida think really highly of his game. So you're building a nice little core of talent around Raiola.
Yeah, and look, Canes Cat Heat 305 saying another 6-6 coming from Nebraska. I know that'd be a huge disappointment for Matt Rule and that fan base, which is one of the most proud fan bases there is. They're going to have to stay stable on defense. They lost a ton, obviously, with their defensive coordinator moving to Florida State and taking some of his players with them. So you don't want to take 2 steps forward on offense and take 2 steps backwards on defense. So the defense is going to have to maintain at least par. But I think on the offensive side of the ball, they are going to take quite a step forward, because I don't think, even though you lost 2 guys last year that were productive for you out of the portal, I don't think either of those 2 are the caliber of a Dane Key. And I think Barney has the ability to take another step where he's not just good freshman, but one of the more impactful, electrifying players in the Big Ten.